Happy holidays! It's my favorite time of year, so I would like to start the show by singing Angels from the Realms of Glory. Angels from the realms of glory, wing your flight o'er all the earth. Ye who sang creation's story, now proclaim Messiah's birth. Come and worship, worship Christ, the newborn King. Today on Agents of Hope, we will be having our Christmas special and featuring different hosts from Hope Channel Canada's programs as they briefly share a holiday memory, tradition, story, or whatever, comes to mind. You can expect to hear from Jeff Potts with The Great Outdoors, Paul Llewellyn with Rainmakers, Cyril Millett with The Gift, and both myself and Evaldo representing Agents of Hope. We hope that this program can touch your heart during the holiday season as you reflect on the true meaning of hope. Thank you for joining us to bring hope to Canadians this holiday season. I want to share with you 3 ways that I believe we can do that: by steps of action, by the power of prayer, and with the gifts of our hands. I'm going to ask Evaldo to share a bit more on how that is possible.
Thank you, Tiffany, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
And I'll be happy to share about that. Like I said before, it's because this is a spiritual movement that we need first and foremost your prayers. We appreciate them and we ask your prayers for Hope Channel Canada, for the various programs and ministries we're putting together, and also for all those who have been impacted and will continue to be impacted by this message.
Like we mentioned, we'll be having some of the hosts of Hope Channel Canada's programs sharing something meaningful to them in this Christmas season. And our first guest is Jeff Potts. He is the host of The Great Outdoors, and you can watch a new episode every Saturday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Pastor Potts sent us the video that he would like us to share with you at this time.
Nancy and I have 4 wonderful daughters. They're all adults now. 2 of them have children of their own. One of my favorite Christmas memories is about something we used to do when our children were young. We wanted Christmas to be about Jesus. Nancy and I decided a good way to do that would be to act out the Christmas story. Now, we did this each Christmas Eve. The girls would decide who they wanted to be: Mary, Joseph, a shepherd, a wise man. I built a wooden manger. We placed the doll into it to represent baby Jesus. Now, some Christmases we were with Nancy's family, sometimes we were with my family, and some Christmases we were home by ourselves. But regardless of where we were, we included everyone present in our small family Christmas pageant. One year we were home with my family. My 2 brothers and I were the 3 magi that year. We wore bathrobes and entered the living room singing, "We 3 kings of Orient are." Now, if I recall correctly, we carried different Tupperware containers to represent the gold, frankincense, and myrrh, which we presented to Jesus. Usually, one of our girls would play the part of Mary, the mother of Jesus. They would hide the doll under their robe, and at the right time, they would produce baby Jesus and declare that he had been born. One year, I was the donkey on which Mary rode into Bethlehem. I forget which of my daughters was Mary that year. Whoever it was, she rode on my back into the living room as Joseph went to the inn to try and find lodging. One year, we were whole alone with our children. There were no extra family members with us that year, just Nancy and I and our girls. I don't remember whose idea it was, but that year we draped a large sheet over our kitchen table so that it extended down to the floor on all sides. And we pressed inside under the table, and that became the stable where Jesus was born. I don't remember why, but that year we all ate a meal under the table, sitting on the linoleum in our makeshift stable. One of our girls was Joseph, another was Mary. The rest of us were the animals: a cow, a sheep, a donkey. Baby Jesus, of course, lay in the manger beside us. Many of these memories are reinforced by the photos we took. And when I look back through the photo albums, I smile. These pictures bring joy to my heart. Through this simple family tradition, our daughters internalized the Christmas story. They will never forget this immortal truth. God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life. That's John 3:16. My friend, I encourage you to build your own family memories around Christmas. Keep Jesus at the center, and may God richly bless you and your family as you celebrate the greatest gift ever given.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Pastor Potts. Next, I would like to share a video that Pastor Paul Llewellyn sent to us. Be sure to also watch his program and a new episode of Rainmakers every Sunday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Here's what he had to say.
This past summer, my wife and I had an opportunity to go to Europe for meetings. We took a little time off to visit my childhood home in Germany. My dad had taken a transfer to Germany while serving in the Canadian Armed Forces. And I brought pictures over, and I found the house that I had learned to walk in and also learned to speak English and also German in. My wife and I were taking pictures outside the house, and the owner of the house came out to greet us. And I told him, I said, I used to live in this house. Well, he was confused because that house had been in his family for the last 600 years. But when we lived there, they rented out the top portion of the house to my dad, my mom, and my brother and I. And the family that was there loved people so much that when Christmas time came around, they invited us to be part of their Christmas tradition. They weren't big on gifts or anything like that. Family was more important, and the food around the table. And so I still remember my first Christmas that we were around their kitchen table downstairs. I took out pictures this summer and showed the family that lived there, and they remembered that Christmas together. The father was still alive, and he was telling me the whole details of that day and what it meant to him. When my mother and father and my brother and I moved back to Canada, we kept on the tradition of the family meal at Christmas time. Gifts were not big and important, and plus we didn't have a lot of money back then. And so each child would have one gift, and maybe my mother and father would have a gift each for each other. But the main part of Christmas was our family. When we moved back to Canada, we were close enough to my mother's family, my father's family, that we could get together at Christmas time. And I still remember Christmas Eve singing the songs around the fire that we would have there in their home of my cousins, and just reliving stories and the quiet time that we had. We would often sing some of the German songs that we would sing over in Germany around that time. But the family get-together was so important. On Christmas Day, we would wake up, we would usually open our one gift, and then we would get together with family. As we would get together with the family, it was an important time that we shared with everyone. It wasn't that we had lots of gifts or anything. It was the importance of us getting together. Some of our family we wouldn't see very much during the year, but at Christmas time we all got together. And just sitting around the table, talking and laughing and enjoying each other's friendships. Sometimes it would be an opportunity to apologize for something that happened in the past year. But I just remember it was a close family that we had. It was just nice to be there with each other. No pressures on from what was happening in the world. It was just family eating together, celebrating together, and remembering why we enjoyed Christmas together. You see, this Christmas season, I'm going to invite you to become part of the family and join Agents of Hope as we share the real meaning of Christmas. See, it's all about Jesus and becoming part of his family. So I would like to invite you during Christmas, as we talk about family and as we relive about family, that you would make Agents of Hope part of your family. And as we share Jesus together, let's become a larger family. And I can't wait till we all are on the earth made new, sharing an incredible feast together. That's what Jesus tells us we'll be doing in heaven. We will no longer have a need for a Christmas celebration. We will have a time of an eternal celebration, celebrating what Jesus did for this world on the cross, what he's doing right now, and what he's going to do for us in eternity. In Jesus, there is more to life than what we have here. So today, become part of the family of Agents of Hope. And let's look forward to that time when we spend in heaven together as a family again.
Thank you, Pastor Llewellyn. And lastly, we'll be featuring a video from Pastor Cyril Millett. He's the host of The Gift, which has a new episode every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time and Pacific Time. Here's what he had to share.
I recently heard a different account of the Christmas story told through the eyes of a 6-year-old little Russian boy named Misha. Misha took a few liberties with the truth, but did it ever change the way he looked at the world around him? You see, Misha was an orphan, and Misha hoped with all of his heart that one day he would be adopted. Misha had never heard the Christmas story of the birth of Jesus until a missionary visited the orphanage where he lived. He and the other orphans sat on the edge of their seats as the missionary told them about Mary and Joseph arriving in Bethlehem with nowhere to stay for the night. All of the children understood how they felt and were glad to learn that the couple found shelter in a stable where Jesus could be born and laid in a manger. When the missionary finished the story, he gave the children 3 small pieces of cardboard with which to make a crude manger. Each child was also given a small paper square cut from yellow napkins, which with a little help and a lot of imagination could be shred to resemble the straw that was used to lie Jesus in the manger. The children tore the paper and carefully laid strips in the manger for straw. Small squares of flannel cut from a worn-out nightgown were used for the baby's blanket, and a doll-like baby was cut from 10 felt that the missionary had brought with him. As the children worked, the missionary went from table to inspect their work. He noticed that little Misha had 2 babies in his manger. 2 babies? What? Why? The missionary quickly called a translator over to inquire as to why. Crossing his arms in front of him and looking at his now complete manger scene, the little child began to repeat the story as if he had heard it 100 times. In fact, he related Luke's account about as accurately as any of us would probably do, until he came to the part where Mary put the Christ child in the manger. And when Maria laid the baby in the manger, Misha told the translator, Jesus looked at me and asked me if I had a place to stay. I told him, I have no mama and I have no papa, so I don't have any place to stay. Then Jesus told me I could stay with him. But I told him I couldn't because I didn't have a gift to give him like everybody else did. Misha went on, I wanted to stay with Jesus so much. I thought about what I had that maybe I could use for a gift. I thought maybe if I kept him warm, that would be a good gift. So I asked Jesus if I could, can I keep you warm? Will that be a good enough gift? And Jesus told me, if you keep me warm, if you stay with me, that will be the best gift anybody has ever given me. So I got into the manger, and then Jesus looked at me and told me I could stay with him for always. As Misha finished his story, his eyes brimmed full of tears that coursed their way down his little cheeks. Putting his hand over his face, his head dropped to the table and his shoulders shook as he sobbed. He had finally found someone who would never abandon him, never abuse him, someone who would not leave him with the forlorn feeling of isolation, someone with whom he wanted to stay, someone who accepted him for always. Misha's account of the Christmas story is a stirring reminder from all of us and for all of us about the importance of having Jesus in our lives. Because if we have Jesus, our Emmanuel, who is God with us, then we also have his promises. Allow me to take a moment and read one of those promises found in Galatians chapter 4, verses 4 and 5. It says there, but when the right time came, God sent his Son, born of a woman, subject to the law. God sent him to buy freedom for us, who were slaves to the law, so that he could adopt us as his very own children. Never will I leave you, never will I forsake you, Jesus says to us. Let us remember that the greatest gift of all is the gift that God gave to us through Jesus. And the greatest gift that we can give in return is to give ourselves to him and draw close to him, recognizing that we can be adopted into his family for always. God bless you.
Thank you so much for your words, Pastor Millett. How about you, Evaldo? What makes the holiday season meaningful to you and your loved ones?
I remember one occasion particularly. This is something that was really marked my life growing up. When I met my future wife, and we've been married now for a long time. When we met, I realized that her family traditions related to Christmas and coming around the table and celebrating with family together were even stronger, a lot stronger than my own family. And this was nice because, my kids now grew up in this environment where we value, family time, and we value being around the table and talking, telling stories, remembering what happened throughout the year, victories and sometimes, some of the losses we've had. But all of that is part of coming together around in the Christmas season. And there is a lot of shopping associated with that. There's a lot of shopping that is promoted around this time. And I don't think there is anything wrong, in offering gifts to people you love, but we can never lose sight, and we've tried to instill this thought, this thinking with our kids, that we can never lose sight that the real reason for the season is Jesus Christ. He's the birth boy, he's the birthday boy, he's the one whom we celebrate, and he was born as a helpless child, grew up to become an obedient boy, and eventually to become a master, a rabbi, and with his disciples, he would, change the perspective that people had even of religion. And this was new, this was great, this was a blessing. And because of that, and because his disciples were so passionate about seeing God through the lenses of Jesus Christ who came in flesh, because of that, you and I today have the privilege of, we've had the privilege of being reached by the gospel. And isn't that wonderful? Because of their faithfulness, because of their boldness, because of their courage, because of their passion, we have also been reached by that. And so I thank God for this time of the year. I really love it. I really enjoy it. It does remind me, of my childhood, with my family, and then when I met my wife. And so all of that comes back to mind as we gather around the table to celebrate. There may have been, sad moments associated even with the holidays, as even in my family, we've had losses, throughout the years that have been related to that time of the year. But even then, we celebrate Jesus above all else. So I want to thank you for asking this question, Tiffany, and for giving me the opportunity to share. But I want to turn the question back to you. How about yourself? What is meaningful, around this time of the year to you and to your family?
Well, growing up, Christmas time, the holiday season was always something that we cherished, myself and my sister. My parents made it a big deal. There was always a lot of food, a lot of family fellowship, but most importantly, it was an opportunity for them to teach us about the great sacrifice that Jesus made for us. And now that I'm older, I can look back and see that all these traditions that my parents had we have a special drink that we drink around this time of year. It's made of a fruit. It's called sorrel, and I love it. And we also have a special cake we have at this time of year called, it's a fruit cake. And it comes from our tradition with our Jamaican background and our heritage. And so we just thought it was all about food. We're like, oh, there's so much food to eat. We're so excited. It's Christmas, it's holidays. We're gonna have sorrel, we're gonna eat black cake and fruit cakes and all these things. And then now that I've grown up and I've seen how my parents were able to mix culture with the importance of understanding that Jesus came, he was born as just a little baby, grew up an obedient child, and then died on the cross for us, and how it all came together. And now this Christmas season has a new meaning for me. And so it's a reminder time as we prepare to go into a new year that we need to always ensure that our relationship with Jesus is strong and steadfast. And let's keep that in mind during this holiday season. But those are some of the traditions we have.
Great. Thank you, Tiffany. And you know what's interesting? I come from a place in the world where Christmas season is a really warm weather time, right? And I think when you went to Jamaica, you probably experienced that as well.
Yeah.
It's different from North America.
It was
right?
great.
And one thing that I also resonate with you, and I mentioned this, I also our family has also experienced losses. Not too long ago, we experienced a loss right on Christmas Eve, right, in the family. So it's painful, but it gives us, encouragement to say, you know what, I want to be faithful. I want to one day meet that person again. I'm sure that I will when Jesus comes. So, and this is, all related to Jesus.
Yes.
He is the reason for the season. He's the one who gives us hope. And so it was wonderful to hear your stories, to hear mine. I hope so. And it was wonderful really to hear from all of our guests. So thank you all for sharing.
Definitely, it was fantastic. Now, I want you to think back to some of the most meaningful gifts you have received. Chances are they may be experiences, memories, or something sentimental. Sometimes they are of great monetary value, and sometimes they are a simple treasure given to you by a child. Often these types of gifts hold a special place in our heart and are from a precious relationship or person that we have in our life. At Agents of Hope, our prayer is that you can receive a meaningful gift from this program and that Jesus' love can be a real hope in your life. We pray that you may receive the gift of peace, of rich relationships, and the hope that comes only from Jesus. It's our desire that you have a rich purpose in your life and meaning in your daily activities. May you feel impacted and empowered to go out and be an agent of hope in your community and keep spreading this great gift to those around you. Together, we can make a difference. Together, we can be a blessing to those hurting around us. Together, we can share great gifts. During this Christmas season, our prayer is that you experience hope. And remember that hope is a person, and his name is Jesus.
And you know, at this time of the year, on this Christmas season, I can't help myself but ask you, do you have a song in your heart that you want to share?
Oh yes, absolutely. Let's sing Joy to the World.
That's an excellent one. It's a time for joy, isn't it?
It sure is. Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing.
I know you pray for us, and we'd love to pray for you as well. We'd love to join you in prayer.
So if you have any prayer requests, please contact us at agentsofhope@hopetv.ca or on our social media.
So thank you again, and remember, together we can let Canada know that in Jesus,
there's more to life. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. While shepherds kept their watching o'er silent flocks by night, behold, throughout the heavens there shone a holy light. Go tell it on the mountain, over